Welcome to the Made in the Mist podcast, the podcast for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs. Now please welcome your hosts, Emma, Sam, and Dan.
Welcome everybody to another amazing episode of the Made in the Mist podcast, where we interview entrepreneurs and we find out what makes them tick, their tips and tricks, their secret sauce to success, and everything they learned throughout their experience. This is the podcast for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs, and this week we have another amazing guest. We have a rock star in the industry. We have a local Niagara legend. She started from the bottom, now she's at the top. Please help me welcome Paola Girotti from Sugarmoon Salon. Paola, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm flattered to be here.
Oh, no, we're so excited to have you. Like I said, we only interview rock stars on the show. So like I said, we're just continuing on with the trend. We have our co-host, Emma, and then Sam back in studio after missing a couple of weeks. But how you feeling, Sam?
Better than ever.
All right, that's great. So again, what we're here to learn is, what made Paola and what made her the amazing owner of an amazing group of salons called the Sugarmoon Salon. So Paola, please explain what Sugarmoon is.
Yeah, so Sugarmoon is a line of beauty salons that specialize in body sugaring and skincare. I have a few stores in Toronto and one in Burlington and here in Niagara. We are trailblazers in the industry, developing skincare in a natural way, the most natural form. And I have an amazing team. That's basically what Sugarmoon is.
No, it's amazing. And like I said, you have multiple locations now, and nobody starts with multiple locations. You always start somewhere. And what we really want to do is we want to delve into, what was that light bulb moment? What was that inspiration for Paola? I know, personally, I know a little bit of your background. I know that, your family has been entrepreneurs, a lot of family members there. So where did the entrepreneurial spirit come from for you to start your own salon?
Yeah, so I come from a long line of entrepreneurs, actually. So Girotti Machines is over 50 years old. Wow. We also had the Girotti Hydrate. So I watched my entire family basically build a business from the ground up, and it all worked well. They ate together, they did business together. So I was very inspired. And I also have my mom as well, who was a teacher for the longest time, who actually opened up a quilt store as a bit of a side hustle. So it's in my blood for sure. And now I'm inspiring my son.
There you go. He's an entrepreneur as well, right?
Yeah.
So entrepreneur family, long line of family, and quilt stores. They're good at piecing things together. That's
Absolutely.
Terrible joke about quilts.
But yeah.
Anyway. But so Paola, you're born in the Niagara region. You started. Did you ever work with the rest of your family in the machine shop?
No, actually, I didn't. Actually, my first job was at Orange Julius.
Oh, wow. Those were the days. Wow.
I was a hard worker from a young age, started working at the age of 14, the minute I could get a job. I really enjoyed the making money aspect in every way possible. And I was never really involved in any of the machine shop. No, not at all.
But you learned from some of what they were doing and how they were entrepreneurs and some of the struggles they went through, of course. And did you take any of that experience for your own benefit?
Yeah, I think work ethic is something that I absolutely admired. It was the whole family, right? Yes. From my great uncles to then it was passed down over into the cousins and my dad. But it was a phenomenal work ethic.
So you had a lot of entrepreneurs to look up to and that, but what inspired you pivoting that into the more beauty industry? Because you said Orange Julius, and I'm sure that's just the beginning of the timeline you said from your work ethic and where you established those formal, business skills, I imagine. Then where did it go from there?
It's a good question. Obviously I went off to school, but
where did you go to school?
I went to Seneca College and U of T.
Nice.
Shout out to Seneca and U of T if you're listening.
I think for me, I didn't really know what my path was going to be. I started in pharmaceutical science, and then I went over into the sciences, and then I traveled around for a little while. chased a boy out to Nova Scotia, came back, got into the film industry, worked in film for about 9 years. But the whole time I was getting sugared. I have really sensitive skin. And so I was coming back this way to Niagara because I was in Toronto for a long time and I was getting sugared. And I always loved to work with my hands. And so I reinvented myself at 28 and went back to school to Market College and became an esthetician and opened up my business right after. So at 28, I reinvented myself.
That's amazing. And I mean, just goes to show you, it's never too late to start over or to pivot for them. You don't start over, but to pivot into something that you're a little bit more passionate about.
I actually think all of those things in life, working in film is super hard, long hours. It really just helped reinforce the work ethic you need to be an entrepreneur, to be honest.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's thinking on the spot, of course, and, always being on your toes for that matter. Any movies that our viewers might have watched or shows?
So the last series I did was called Codename Eternity, but I worked on a bunch of films.
Wow.
Yeah.
How'd you like working with the actors? Because you make some people say that they're some are very nice, but then some say that they're very mean and entitled and stuff like that. So how was your experience working with a whole bunch of different actors?
You know what? It's a really thrilling industry, to be honest. Like for any of these kids getting into mixed media or the film industry, it's you have to work really hard. They're long hours, but it's super fun. I was a coordinator, so really working with, it's kind of like basically like Grand Central. So you're working with every department and you're liaisoning. So it was very busy. Like you have to be a massive multitasker.
Super organized.
Yeah, like I think my multitasking skills came from that job.
But yeah, and you mentioned Grand Central. It's not the restaurant down the street, but shout out to Grand Central, the restaurant down the street. But like you said, being almost a conductor, if you will, and
exactly.
trying to fit all the pieces together. That's very, very interesting. Now, you said you transferred to an esthetician, but obviously you didn't have the product right off the bat.
No.
So did you start practicing on your own with a couple clients, and then you decided, you know what, maybe I want to venture out and do my own product line?
Yeah, so I actually started Sugarmoon with a friend of mine from the film industry, actually. And it was just 2 girls, 2 rooms, and we basically hustled. So we put out some we were doing flyers, like going door to door, actually delivering, coupons into people's mailboxes. And because of our close connections to the film industry, we had people really supporting us off the bat. But to be honest with you, we weren't making any money the first few years, and my partner chose to leave the business because we were both having babies. We weren't really prepared for what was ahead. So I took on the business on my own, and here we are 20 years later.
It must have been scary, especially being a mother. I mean, I can appreciate all the mothers out there. Being a child caregiver is just a full-time job in itself. So being able to do that and, try to start a business on top of that is very admirable. How did you find it? I mean, you being, of course, identifying as a woman in the industry, I mean, I'm assuming, and I know, I shouldn't say I'm assuming, I know that there was a lot of struggle, and often there wasn't enough support, especially if we go back a decade or so ago. So tell some of your experience about being a trailblazer in the industry, like you said, but being a woman trailblazer as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't do everything awesome, that's for sure. So my ex-husband, he took pat leave initially because at that time, 18 years ago, there was actually no maternity support for entrepreneurs. So I had a baby in the middle of opening a business, and that was really challenging, just being able to manage. And also at the beginning, you're not really making any money. You're kind of reinvesting the money that you are making. So I think it was pretty difficult. I think things have come a long way since I started in terms of being a mom. But you still, I would tell any woman that you still need an absolutely ton of support.
Absolutely.
If you're going to get started on something.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, and we realize even here at Spark that a lot of women are facing the same struggles that you faced when you were starting as an entrepreneur, and that's why we have special programs for women entrepreneurs as well to offer them that more support, because it is difficult because you're balancing so many things at once. Being a mother, being a woman, and then trying to be an entrepreneur. So we can absolutely provide that value. Emma and Sam, I know I've been talking a lot. Do you guys have any questions that you want to ask our amazing guests here?
Yeah, no. I think even I'm just like with even just your starting of the journey, and you were just getting into. It was at your first, so you were just beginning motherhood at that point, and then your business, and So, at what point did you open your first store? I'm curious. Is that skipping too far ahead, or was that?
No, we actually had the store before I.
Okay, so that's you started with the like a brick and mortar store, and then so that I imagine that was kind of where it was eating your cost. Is that kind of what happened?
Yeah,
then?
I think for us, again, it was just a really small studio.
Yeah.
It was, but because sugaring was pretty new in Toronto at the time, which was where I had my first location, it was just so expensive, like off the bat.
Yeah.
And I don't know that we were totally prepared with like a big business plan. It was just a really, passion and idea. Yeah. And I just knew in my gut that it would work. And so for me, I've always been one to trust my own instincts. And I think we just did so well.
Okay.
It kind of caught us off guard, to be honest.
Okay.
And then our next challenge was, wow, how are we going to support motherhood by bringing in a staff member? And so we sort of got a master's in business as we went along.
And I find this is a common theme with entrepreneurs, that you were identifying the gaps in the lack of resources, support, and then it's not, so you were trying to build upon them as a business owner and be responsible for your future staffing. If you did employ, parents, and it's admirable. Myself as a marketing manager, I do have to just somewhat change the subject that, I've been looking at your products the whole time and your packaging design and everything. Have you rebranded at any point? Like from the beginning, like when did you establish the Sugarmoon brand that it is today?
Yeah, so we actually started as Lune de Miel, which meant honeymoon. And my friend Ingrid, who is a PR manager in the film industry, she's like, we have to go out for a beer. And so we ended up going and sitting, and she's like, what is Lune de Miel? Lune de Miel. No one's going to remember Lune de Miel. Like, you're sugaring, so just call it Sugarmoon. Oh. And that is how the name came to be. And so I went back and talked to my partner at the time, and I was like, listen, she might have a point. But we were originally called Lune de Miel, like a very French honeymoon type of name.
Oh, and, honeymoon. I was thinking honey, like actual honey because it's sugar, but honeymoon.
But yeah, we started off with a couple of logos. I've been through some things. Like I had a bit of a trademark issue. I had a competitor trademark my name in the United States and in Canada.
Oh, gosh.
These were things as an entrepreneur that I didn't take care of early on. Okay. And so my logo, even my name, all of that was at risk. And so I fought for the name, which was a very expensive fight. But we ended up changing the logo. And so, I'm not sure. I think we're kind of settled now on where we're at, but it is fun to rebrand sometimes.
100%.
No, I completely agree. And maybe that's a tip that we can give to some of the entrepreneurs listening is, always protect yourself, right? Protect yourself first, because you don't know when you're going to explode, right? And then when you do, then there's always people that are going to try to take advantage of you, right? Or try to rip you off or whatever the case is. So is that something that you would give as a tip to a lot of these entrepreneurs about trademarks and things like that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've written some articles actually on the truth about entrepreneurship, and one of those is actually on the trademark issue. And I think that one to me is if you don't have your name and you don't have your likeness and everything wrapped up, you're really not going to go far. So I think for sure that would be one of my main tips, is to be very prepared in having your trademark. Yeah. It was really expensive, to fight for that after.
Yes. And now, I'm just curious, did you fund that all on your own just from the business of like where you are today? And I mean, you have a huge product line too, and I'm sure it grew. What did you start with? I'm curious.
Yeah, I started with a loan from my mom for $10,000. Okay. And that's how the business got off the ground. And that was enough to pay, first and last, a couple of treatment beds. And, again, my former business partner and I, we went door to door dropping off flyers, and we just really built the business from the ground up. Yep. And then everything after that was a total reinvestment. So really hard on my family, right? Because you're not really taking a lot home when you're in that mindset to grow and scale. And again, at that time, we're talking about 20 years ago, the amount of funding that's available now for entrepreneurs is so much more readily available than it was for me at that time.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
I did self-fund.
Absolutely. And I mean, even were you ever involved with any incubator, like is anything, even the beginning, like even 20 years ago? I'm curious if even any of those resources came to you.
I think early on, no. We just sort of flew by the seat of our pants. I was part of Entrepreneurs Organization for a long time prior to the last couple of years. And that was really helpful to really look at other mentors who had businesses around the same size as mine, and companies who, are 50 million plus. And it's funny because all of us, those experience shares are so valuable, right?
Yes.
It's not necessarily telling you what to do, but it's experience shares of other business owners, I think, that's carried me to where I am today.
Okay.
And then, of course, being part of Spark now to rethink what I want to do. It's never, I think being in places like this are really important for to be able to think.
Well, it's
right?
like at the beginning, from the very beginning of your journey, you needed a support system. And even today, it sounds like the support system is one of the most important pieces to continue growing and continuing, feeling good about your decisions, right?
And I agree. So like one of the questions I was going to say is, how do you think your business would have changed back when you started, like you said, 20 years ago, if you did have support from an incubator, or if you were established in an incubator accelerator such as Spark Innovation Educational Center?
I love this question. Well, I think I would have made less mistakes, right? I think having a place like this where you have program after program after program really supporting you on every tip and trick to be a good and successful entrepreneur, I think I would have made less mistakes. But I do believe that even with that, I think you have to be really passionate about what you're doing, to take that next step. But for sure, I would have spent less money of my own money, and I would have
told you to protect you with your trademark right off the bat. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, that was a real situation. It caught me. I would have never thought that would have happened. Like, nowhere in my mindset did I think, someone would do that.
I mean, it's almost flattering, right? Is that your business is going so well that somebody wants to rip it off, right?
People say that, but that was challenging.
Yeah. Exactly. Imitation is the greatest form of flattery. But for business owners, I'm not sure. It's like, sure, copy my outfit, but the brand, that's really important to you. And even from your beginnings you were ahead of your time with being a brand ambassador for your salon and what you were trying to do and just establish. I think in this industry, it's very important to have a good client relationship, if you would agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And did you model out a very unique customer experience? Is there any unique thing that Sugarmoon does?
Yeah, I mean, I think we appeal to people who want to have a more organic choice for hair removal and skincare. I think that is our greatest niche, I guess. And also, there's lots of sugaring salons around, but I think it's education and really investing in your staff. So that's the one thing that I think that Sugarmoon really has set apart from other competitors, is that my staff come and they're here to stay. We're also a living wage company, and so
congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Very
Thank
good.
you. So I really feel like we that's my greatest investment. These are the folks that are, welcoming customers in and doing the job, and I think each of them have a passion about making you feel good, and so that's kind of our motto, right?
Okay.
We have our core values that each of my staff really believe in fundamentally.
No, absolutely. And I want to go back to, you said about passion and being passionate always for now, as an entrepreneur, your life is a roller coaster, and there's times where you start to lose the passion. And this is the right thing I'm doing. I'm not as successful as I want to be. Like, what's going on? Why aren't I where I want to be? And how did you regain your passion to continue moving forward? Because being an entrepreneur for 20 years with this business is quite a feat, and I'm sure there's some downtimes, and also some great times. But how did you regain that passion at times?
Yeah, I mean, I think I have the will to just be successful. I have a real vision of what I think the company can be. So I think passion for me is always there. It's not something that wavers, right? Wow. I think focus would be something that wavers for me sometimes.
So rephrase the question: how do you regain your focus then?
Yeah. So I take breaks when I need to, and I reach out to other mentors to let them know. I think everybody in life has trouble focusing, but I think you just have to find things that work for you. And for me, it's finding some downtime on my own. Waking up early where my kids are not running around, and finding some peace. So, I stopped meditating. I was into meditating for the longest time. I really need to get back to doing that, but I think
I heard it's amazing. But you gotta do like a long time, right? You can't just meditate for 10 minutes.
I honestly feel like when I meditate, it's like my brain's like, "Are you meditating? Is this meditating?" Like I just have to find a better way. But
yeah, it's hard to find that focus, right? And zone out completely. But
yeah, and like you said, it sounds like you definitely weren't short on passion because you had a other incentive to pay forward like your education experience from it, even being esthetician and building upon there and ethically. Yeah, honestly, the organic route, it just makes so much more sense, especially in this industry, in the beauty industry. So that actually that's a niche that even I haven't really heard of too much here in Niagara. Like that's definitely something probably in Toronto, like, you wanted to fight to establish your brand there, but did you find more success in Niagara? Like once you introduced the concept more, did you find that you were kind of one of the first to get to it?
No. Sugaring's been here for a long time. I'm sort of a latecomer to the Niagara area. Sugaring's actually very popular here. But I think what we're doing well now is with our product and our focus on our products here, and actually working with folks in Welland to help us with our product production and moving the business here in all aspects, distribution, and then using Spark as a think tank for us and another opportunity to explore. I mean, prior to what happened a couple years ago, we were really expanding into the States. We had launched a franchise, and we were at the New York Franchise Show, and that was super successful for us. And so now it's funny because as a business owner, you're always faced with challenges, and I've had the largest challenge of my life the last 2 years. And so I'm in a moment now where I'm having a hard time focusing, and I now just need to take time and just sort of think. So it's interesting, right? Like coming back to Niagara is home to me, and working with more local folks here and rethinking strategy for me is, I think, the most important thing for me right now. Absolutely.
And so if you would like to expand upon more of your greatest challenge, you would say over the trademark that this last 2 years, or, are they competing your top challenge?
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing about the beauty industry is that here in Ontario versus any other province, it's very underregulated. And so, unfortunately, the last 2 years, my business faced a lockdown of 312 days. And then the other 407 days, we were at a capacity limit of 25%. And so, I had to lay off a lot of staff. Everybody was very, very affected. Those were really challenging times for me. And so I fought for the beauty industry and set up a lobby group with 5 other female entrepreneurs who I love. And we started a council called Beauty United Council of Ontario, and challenged the government to really pay attention here in Ontario on our industry, because we are economic engines, right?
Absolutely.
You think about the beauty industry and spas and just in general.
Yeah.
They needed to pay more attention to the industry, not just from a vanity point of view,
but economically,
but mental health, and then the economics on its own. So
I think the industry grows by billions every year.
Yeah.
Like it's really exploded.
You like the spa.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
I like my fair
thing or
share
two.
at the spas as well. What's really unique about Sugarmoon that we don't have to see with a lot of the entrepreneurs on the show is that you not only have a service, but you also have a product. And typically as an entrepreneur, you do one or the other, right? And say, I'm going to have a product, sell a product, or I'm going to do a service, I'm going to do something like that. How have you managed that, and how did you even get into the production of some of this stuff? Like, I know you have your background in kind of pharma that you said university and chemistry related to that, but how the heck did you say I want to? What are the ingredients in here? How the heck do I put the proper portions and stuff like that? So I'd love to know how you got into creating your own products and knowing all that industry.
Yeah, I mean, I don't do that alone. We do have good chemists that we work with. And then also, I really rely on my team. You know, like I have lots of people who work for me who love to develop product, and it's kind of what we like or what our clients are drawn to. And so, you know, like our sugar scrubs, our lotions, and our washes. Now we've all of those are unscented, and we've created a blend bar where you can actually blend your own scents. So it's kind of to answer your question more appropriately, it's a collaborative experience, and we do work with really good chemists here in Ontario. So
You sound like a very innovative beauty brand. The
Thank
unfragranted, that is amazing. I have sensitive skin.
Same here. Sam, do you have sensitive skin too?
Yeah, I think that makes all of us.
I've used some of her razor burn lotion, and it's just phenomenal.
Skin relief.
Skin
Yes.
relief.
I'm definitely gonna have to try some of this out. But I wanted to jump back to passion and challenges. And you said that your business partner sort of left at the early stages. Were you ever scared of failure?
That's a great question.
I think that always is something in the back of every entrepreneur's mind. Certainly, I was really sad when she left, and I was pregnant at the time when she did leave the business, and so absolutely, I think I was scared of failure at that time. But we were pretty busy, you know. The salon was doing really well. You know, we were 2 years in at this point, and I just knew. And I had a supportive partner at the time who was able to take pat leave, which was really helpful for me. And so I was able to kind of keep going, right? So I think fear is just something you have to manage as an entrepreneur. It is just scary when you're the person who's responsible for everything. So it is a good question. I think fear is something that you just need to manage, but I'm scared all the time.
Yeah, because I've definitely heard a lot of successful entrepreneurs say that you can't be successful unless you fail. Failure is a really important part of becoming successful, and if you're not scared of failure, then you don't really want to be successful that much.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely made some really big mistakes where I would like to have do-overs, but I do think it's kind of what shapes you as an entrepreneur.
100%.
For sure. I've made lots of mistakes.
Well, can we dive into that and kind of get some
Yeah,
another tip?
Let's get the dirt of these mistakes.
Let's hear some of these.
Let's well, even just a tip or trick of that you would have told your younger self.
Absolutely.
Actually,
Yeah, I would say that everything happens for a reason. I think without failure, you don't grow. I also say, like, you know, if you don't have breakups, you don't get to meet someone new. So I do think that everything does happen for a reason. Sometimes I have to keep reminding myself of those things. And I say you just have to really believe in yourself. Like, you know, don't be afraid, right? Really believe in yourself. And actually the other tip I would say is that if you don't, it's okay not to know what your purpose in life is. Like, I've reinvented myself 3 times. So, I mean, I think there's all this pressure on these young kids. You know, I have a son who's 18, and all these kids are supposed to know what they want to do at a young age. And I feel like if you don't know your purpose in life, it's okay.
yeah.
You know, there's lots of time to figure out what you want to do, and it's perfectly okay to change your mind.
Exactly.
So that's what I would say.
And as long as, like you said, as long as you have the motivation and focus to do whatever you want, then you'll get there eventually. Right?
Exactly.
And you just got to keep trucking along. When did you make that decision to say, you know what, I have something here. I'm gonna franchise. Because some people, I know a couple people that own salons. We had a couple people join the program that own salons, but they stick to one place. And like, you know what, this I'm good. I'm comfortable. I'm making good money. I know what I'm doing. You decided, heck with that noise. I'm gonna go one step above.
Go big.
I'm gonna go big. So when did you decide, hey, we have an opportunity to franchise here, and how was that experience?
How much time do you have?
We got lots of time.
You know, I'm a fan of Jim Collins, right? Good to Great and Great by Choice are 2 books that he's written. Great by Choice probably would have been a better strategy for me to just maybe not expand so quickly, wait for my kids to be a little bit older. But I made the choice to be to scale, which was really challenging because it's a lot of money to really create the franchise. So much legal, and we went both here and in the U.S. at one time. But I think people kind of motivate me. They're like, Paola, you should open up here. Paola, you should open up here. And you know what, this would do really well. And it just feeds this like, oh my God, Sugarmoon could be the greatest beauty brand in the world, which I still really believe. Like deep in my heart, I really believe that. It can't always happen that quickly. And I think, rereading, Great by Choice is something that I'm doing right now. And I'm just rethinking things. I think franchising is a great opportunity for me to expand the brand, especially from a product perspective. But it also comes with challenges, right?
Absolutely. I mean, but again, like Sam was saying, is that you can't grow unless you challenge yourself or unless you fail. So that's fantastic. Now, the next thing I kind of want to delve into is what's next. I mean, I was a child of the 80s and 90s. So when I was growing up, sugaring was just coming into play, but it was all about the nair. And nothing smelled worse in your house when somebody put Nair on their body and then use all the chemicals to wipe off that hair. So as an entrepreneur and somebody that has a brand that and has a product, I'm sure that you're always going above and beyond. So you started with the sugar, but now you have a whole line of products. And every it seems like every time I talk to you, you have another product out, another one out here. So how do you stay competitive in this industry that isn't, like Emma said, billions and billions of dollars a year in the industry? I mean, you see somebody like one of the Kardashians, I don't know, it was Khloe or whatever.
Every celebrity.
Yeah,
on
but the one that started
the
her own makeup brand.
Oh, Kylie. But everyone's starting makeup brands now, I think.
So that's what I'm saying. So
now.
you're in the cosmetic industry, you're in the esthetician industry, you're in the beauty industry. How do you stay competitive? How do you keep yourself at the top of the where you are right now?
Yeah, I think for us, Sugarmoon's a little bit different because we're a service-based company as well. And so we have access to clients all the time, right? So we get to try products on clients to see what's working. But I think for us, consistency in product development and making sure that our products are good, right? We really believe in what we're making, like the product you're using. The
amazing.
nickname is magic in a bottle, right? We believe that could be everywhere. I think my next steps right now is to find a very good distributor to help me, and I'm hoping that myself and my colleagues who are working with me, we can set up a new strategy. I mean, look, we were closed for a couple of years, and so we have to rethink sort of what our next steps are going to be, and being in an environment like Spark where I'm surrounded by really smart entrepreneurs, and I think for me it's the next steps are endless possibilities at this point. I mean, the world is open and we have really great products, and it's just about a focused, really good strategy at this point.
Yeah, and some of your ingredients are crazy from across the world.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So I mean, so not only are you developing, but now you got to import these products, you got to create it. So one thing I wanted to know is that obviously the last 2 years, and we'll say the C word on your COVID, but you were obviously selling a lot of these products from your bricks and mortar location. Have you pivoted to an e-commerce site or stuff available on the World Wide Web on Amazon? Can you buy Sugarmoon on Amazon?
Yeah, I mean, I did it. I ended up going that route. Like, God bless the logistics of Amazon. That's a really tough platform, I have to be honest with you. You have to, it's almost like a full-time job. I don't know that we're totally doing that well, but I feel like we had to kind of go that route because initially we were scaled to franchise, right? And so we weren't really an e-commerce place because, that was sort of frowned upon for possible franchisees. You don't want to really compete with them in an online way. So we had a lot of challenges at the beginning. I think our e-commerce does pretty well, but I think the next steps for us is really finding various countries that will help us distribute. And right now we have a calling out for some brand ambassadors and getting people really behind the brand and maybe going with some influencers.
Ooh, I like that.
We do have a number of celebrities that do come to us and who are huge fans of our product. So just finding new ways to kind of stay connected. But I think, we're lots of things to rethink here.
Absolutely. And I mean, ingredients are everything. And I think even you'll see that there was a huge shift in trend over even just recently that consumers are becoming a little more educated. They're doing a little more research on what ingredients are, because even things like fragrance can be hidden really easily. And that's proprietary information that, you know, the word fragrance, there could be 1,500 other ingredients in that fragrance that they don't have to disclose.
Like natural flavors or natural ingredients. Like what the heck is natural ingredients or natural? Nobody knows that.
Yeah, I think Health Canada does a pretty good job. I think we're much more tight than places like the U.S., specifically on how products come into the country. But I think consumers, for sure, I mean, everything is available on the World Wide Web. If you want to learn about anything, you can YouTube it or, you know, find the source. I think everything that we do is as ethical as possible, and we're very transparent about what is in our products. And I think that's what we do well. And I think the chemists that we do work with are just amazing and thoughtful about what we're putting into our products.
And I know you said like e-commerce, I get it. You had to do it. You kind of were pushed into doing that with the pandemic, but it's like you said, it's a service that you want to get them to experience the product in-house. I think that's the best for something like this, that it's like probably almost a guarantee that they're going to fall in love with it.
Yeah, I think, you know, everyone loves their local barber or their local esthetician, and they'll trust them, right?
Of course.
These are people that it's one of the only industries that you go and see every month, right? So you're building, it's a relationship. And I think that's what Sugarmoon really does well. You know, we get to know you, we get to know your skin, we get to know, you know, what you need, and we're there really to support you. And so I think the service aspect of it is so important when you're selling products, and trying to figure out how to do that in an online way is something that we need to figure out.
Absolutely.
So where's next expansion? Which countries are next on your radar? I know you said you just launched in the U.S. kind of. Any thoughts on Europe?
No. I think we'll
I can help you open up a store in Italy or Spain if you want.
I think right now we're just going to kind of rethink the entire strategy for Sugarmoon. I mean, obviously I'd love to be distributing into the US and having possible flagship store just over the border where it's easy for us to go and manage. But you know, we were talking earlier before the podcast just about what this year looks like. I mean, we don't have any data from 2021 or 2020, and I think that's something that we've always used really well as a tool for Sugarmoon. And so I'm going to pause on that till our next visit on what's next.
On what's next, our second episode of our second podcast series. What's next for these entrepreneurs? No, that's great, and I know that we're coming close on our time to the end here. So I know Sam and Emma, do you have any last minute questions for our lovely guest here? No, are we interested in knowing her top 5?
Yeah, so I know so let's do a recap actually on some of your tips, and just even like rapid fire, even if you have some new ones that come like that, just top 5 best tips for whether it's a young entrepreneur, a more mature entrepreneur, just any stage, moms, tell them.
Rapid fire, right? Okay. All right, so have a plan, and a real plan, like not, oh, I think I'm going to do this, but like a real plan. You know, make sure you have money, and you know, so that you have some security in place. Take a risk, and you know, be willing to do everything as an entrepreneur. You know, it's not just about doing one thing. You have to be fluid and wear a number of hats. So there's that, and yeah, you have to just you have to be very organized and focused. So those are my, I guess I have a long list, but I'm under fire here. So.
I know you mentioned before we were having a conversation that you're a big reader, and you have a couple of books that are almost, you know, entrepreneurial gospels that you follow for the readers or listeners who will then become readers. For them out there, what are your books, your top books that you suggest for entrepreneurs to really delve into?
Yeah, so I mentioned Great by Choice and Good to Great by Jim Collins. I'm just a huge fan of his. but also Blue Ocean strategy is another one where, you know, you have to really look at how you can be the best in your category, where you make your competition irrelevant. And so those would be my choices for books right now.
Beautiful.
But I am a big reader.
Yeah, well, we have a whole library here in the think tank here at Spark. Well, I mean, that is all the time we have for today's episode. I want to thank you so much. And you let people know where you can find Sugarmoon products on online, where your stores are, where they can learn more about Paula, how they get in contact with you.
Yeah.
And everything there is to know about you.
So for you to find our products, please visit sugarmoonsalon.com. And all of our stores are listed there. And if you have any questions, or if you wanted to talk to me about some of my struggles, you can certainly reach out to me in that same way. I'd be happy to connect with you.
Perfect. And then one other last question is that in case we have another pandemic and we're in lockdown again, what's Sugarmoon's plan?
Yeah, that's a good question. If we have another situation, I think we're more prepared from an e-commerce perspective, and we did a much better job at bringing products in because during that time, supply chain was such a huge issue. So I think we're better prepared for a dark time. So, and that's mostly to drive the commerce.
So no underground salons? We need
that's not something
past a bouncer to get to the basement of a salon.
Like a speakeasy.
Yeah, speakeasy.
The public
Wax
really
easy
needs,
or sugar easy.
really
She probably
needs
doesn't want to say that on
no,
the podcast.
the public really needs to be aware of that stuff. You shouldn't, you know, there has to be health and safety. And
Yeah,
that's
of course.
something that
Absolutely.
Sugarmoon does well. So no, there will be
Good.
no underground Sugar Your Moon
saying
kind
that.
of situation.
No. I was just joking, of course. Now, well, that is it. Before we close up, Emma, where can people find this podcast series?
So this is the Made in the Mist podcast. You can search us on Apple Podcast, on Spotify, and of course our YouTube channel, which is Spark Innovation Canada. Look any of those keywords up and you will find this episode.
Yeah, and if you or one of your guests wants to be, or somebody you know wants to be a part of this show, please reach out to us at info@sparkinnovationcanada.ca. For all that's all with the time we have today. Thank you so much, Paula. I'm going to probably take all these products home with me today.
Yeah,
And
you're welcome.
I'm gonna have to steal some of these from Dan.
well, you know,
too.
I'm sure your mom will appreciate that. And that's early birthday or Christmas
Yeah.
gift. There you go. No, but again, I can attest to definitely the skin relief product is fantastic. I no longer walk around with razor burn. I get it bad. I get like a ring around my neck. It looks like I got in a bar fight. So this helps me to, you know, have more confidence when I'm shaving, and I don't have to grow a beard all the time just to cover that. So thank you for changing my life. And I'm sure that some of the listeners here are going to definitely get into some of these products as well.
Yeah.
They're fantastic, all natural ingredients. Like you said, some organic ingredients as well too. So it's really the end all be all for the beauty line products. So thank you so much for the show. Thank you for coming, and for all the listeners out there, we'll be back shortly with another podcast, another great guest from the Niagara region, who was born in Niagara, who were a successful entrepreneur from being here in Niagara. So Paula, thank you so much, and we hope to see you more.
Thank you. And for those entrepreneurs who need a place to come and be peaceful and think and be creative, Spark is my choice.
Awesome.
Thank you
Perfect.
so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.